Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to talk about Azure Policy, right, which is a cloud guardrail, right? It means that whatever we are going to enforce, that's going to be a pure cloud governance across the Azure, and that cloud governance is going to be enforced across the platform, right? So this is going to be something that each and every organization is already using and adopting, but why and when we are going to use it and how it is going to be preventing different aspects or different loopholes basically, right? And how we are going to enforce all of that, right? So let's go ahead and understand what exactly is the cloud guardrails, how we can do it, what it is going to do, whether it is going to mitigate the risks and misconfigurations, and how that is going to enforce the governance across, right? So let me put slide on presentation mode and I'll walk you through across all of them. All right. So Azure Policy, Cloud Guardrails, right? So you might have seen that Azure Policy is being utilized, and similarly, there are different policies and configuration sets across all the different cloud platforms, including AWS and Azure. And similarly, we have along with the GCP as well. But in Azure, we have Azure Policy, which we can enforce, right? Now, this is going to be complete practical guide that I'm going to talk about and walk you through. But definitely, you also need to understand some of the capabilities of Azure Policy, including how it is going to break the risks and misconfigurations if you are doing it, right? And it is also going to enforce the governance across the platform, which is not going to let you do certain things, right? So, what makes it easy to create resources, right? In Azure, we do simply create a resources, and those can be created as per anything as in with any kind of SKUs, any kind of capacity, any kind of compute capacity, including platform as service slash software as a service or infrastructure as service, right? So, but if we don't have the governance enforced at all, then definitely is going to be something which is going to put the whole organization into the situations, and that situation is going to be risk situations, and even it is going to be a misconfigured for the workloads, right? And that is why we got to go ahead and enforce the guardrails, which is Azure governance, right? So let's go ahead and understand it more. How Azure policy works, right? Now, this is something you need to understand how Azure policies actually work and how it is going to be enforcing it, right? So starting from before creating any of the workloads or any of the capability within Azure, there are two filters for us to either consider it as compliant or non-compliant when the resource is created. And if it is non-compliant, then it should be blocked and automatically fixed. And how that is going to happen? That's going to happen using the policy, right? Azure policy and governance capabilities, right? Now, this is how it is going to be enforcing, and that is why we are going to enforce the controls behind the scenes. So there are different rules that I'm going to talk about, and these are the few basic and common rules. Definitely, there are more than these, and these are going to be something doing a lot many different things. But these rules would be something that going to enforce different capabilities or different allowed regions. For example, this is only enforcing on the respective regions where we wanted to let people go ahead and create resources, right? Where we wanted to let people use those, right? And if they are doing it, that means they are falling behind the compliant as per the policy, as per the governance requirements. And that is why we as an organization are also going to enforce the same. For example, we are allowing only France Central and West Europe regions, but not any other regions, and someone tries to go ahead and create any VM or any service, right, that is being deployed because they are going to or they are trying to create in a different region altogether, which is not allowed by the organization and the policy, right? So this is one of the simple and straightforward reason why we are going to block it and how you are going to determine. Now, definitely it is also important to determine whether we should be allowing it to one region or all the region, depending on the business needs, business requirements, and that has been taken care by the authority. Authority as in it includes the business needs as well, right? Which has everything that is mentioned, how we are going to take, how we are going to provision resources and workloads, and which location, what capacity, and everything to be, right? So this is that one of the rule. Number two is mandatory tags, right? Now every resource must includes a particular tags, right? That tag could be project, client, or cost center. That could also be a environment. That could also be a application owner or team owner or project owner. And those tags should be associated to each of those workloads. So that's easy to identify. That easy to gain the ownership and clarity and visibility. And if we don't do that, definitely it's going to be creating a chaos, and we don't really know who owns that respective workload, and that's still created in the tenant subscription, and that's going to cost the business, right? And at the end of the day, who is going to bear that cost, right? So the mandatory tags are at least or at minimum, we should have cost center, application owner, or respective owner of the project or team, along with the project or the client name if we are utilizing for such scenarios as well. And if we are not doing the tagging, then those are going to be created and those are going to be lying into the subscription. But if we are going to enforce the policy, that is going to deny the creation of all those workloads because we don't want that to happen because of ownership, because of visibility, because of the costs, and all other different factors. Those are the situations where those workloads will be remaining and relay into the subscription, and no one is going to take care as well as take the ownership of it. So that's how we should be enforcing that at minimum, right? So this is the mandatory tagging. The next one is no public access, right? So in this case, any workload that we are provisioning, creating to any region, it's not or it doesn't matter. And if we are only allowing on a certain region, definitely that should be also blocked. And if we are allowing certain workloads to be created, then people can go ahead and create, but we don't want them to expose any of those workloads on the public access, like something like storage accounts or VMs or any other workloads. Those are going to be utilized. Those should not have public access over the internet and data exposure at all, right? Which should be prevented at all, and anything that can be blocked and should be blocked as well, right? So that is something that we should be also blocking at the day one and from the beginning of the provisioning of all those workloads. So that should be enforced using the policy. Number four is mandatory encryption. So this is something which we wanted to encrypt each and every workload across the platform, including databases, including services which are connecting and communicating from each other. And those should have appropriate encryption enabled configuration, and everything is going to be blocked when it comes to encryption, right? Now, if any workloads they are creating without encryption, that should be blocked and should not be allowed at all, right? And that is why we should be blocking them in first place, and then only they should be able to go ahead and create one, right? And that is why we should be also enforcing encryption at mandatorily and should not be left behind. So this is the rule number four. And here are some of the effects of the Azure policy, what it can do if in case we are enforcing any of these. So these are the those four at minimum. There are definitely more than this, and we can leverage those on different scenarios and use cases. But these are the four those I have put together here in order to know at minimum, right? So first one is deny, which blocks non-compliant resources. That means it's simply not going to allow creation and provisioning and usage of any of those workloads which falls behind the non-compliant resource tagging, right? That second one is audit, which reports the non-compliance without blocking. This means it is only going to allow, or it's only going to audit all those workloads and actions, and it is going to notify but not going to take actions like block or deny, right? Number three is modify or append, right? Which is adding the required setting automatically when we are allowing that to happen. For example, any workload we are creating, then that is created, but we wanted to enforce the encryption on it, right? And if we are not added during the creation, that means it's going to be enforced to be able to go ahead and modify and add the encryption on top of that. And the fourth one is deploy if not exists. So this is one of those capability which is going to deploy additional components like monitoring or any other capabilities if we are missing that or we missed during the creation and provisioning of those workloads, right? And that is how it's going to be enforced across the policy or the across deployment. Now, next is RBAC versus Azure policy, right? Now, both of these are the different capabilities. They do serve a different purpose and they do also provide a different ways of handling and doing the access levels and enforcementing or enforcing controls, right? So RBAC is something who is allowed to perform certain actions, right? While Azure policy can take actions and it takes actions which are allowed in the environment. So what one can do, what one cannot do, and even we are giving access, policy can still block those actions because of we are enforcing those different on different aspects, different certain areas, including regions, or it could be encryption, or it could be any policy that we are going to enforce and deploy. So that's how it is going to be. And based on that, it is going to be deployed as well, right? So now these two areas are very important and make sure what is allowed and who is allowed to do what actions, right? So you should be able to differentiate between both of them and should be taking appropriate actions and make sure you use them effectively. Next one is why Azure policy matters, right? So you should be able to understand why it really matters and how we are going to use it, right? Which is of course going to prevent mistakes before they happen, right? And that is why we are going to enforce the Azure policy guardrails, right? That means we are going proactive and not the reactive, right? Which is of course going to improve the security posture, enforces standards across the environment automatically, and going to use key tools for cloud governance and compliance, right? And that is why we are going to follow the proactive approach instead of reactive. And that is when we would be able to improve on security posture, meet our security and compliance needs and requirements, and enforce these standards across the organization. And in summary, Azure policy is going to be kind of proactive cloud governance, which is of course going to stop misconfigurations early and before implementing anything across the organization, and also going to build standardization, secure, and automate Azure environment, right? That's going to be something which we don't want to increase the drift across the organization and reduce the issues of all those guardrails, right? And we would be able to also find and meet the compliance and early issues, right? So this is how we should be taking ahead and going with the proactive cloud governance approach and implementing it across. So that's it. I wanted to talk through and let you know that how we can go ahead and deploy the Azure policy and how it is going to be working on different aspects, right? So hope you like it. Let me know what are your thoughts around the same, which capability and how you are deploying Azure policy, how it is helping you, and what are the real scenarios that you have used for. So that's it for this one. Hope you like it. Thanks for watching and bye for now.